Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 horror movies and series that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
Take your teardrops and drop them in a teacup.
Teacup is a 2024 horror series created by Ian McCulloch and inspired by the novel Stinger by Robert R. McCammon. It stars Yvonne Strahovski, Scott Speedman, and Kathy Baker. Trapped on a farm in rural Georgia, a group of neighbors must put aside their differences and unite in the face of a mysterious, deadly threat.
Oh my God. What happened?
I am blown away by this. I am such a big fan of this type of series that focuses on mystery and doesn't give you too much, because the mysterious element, that's what makes it so creepy. That's what keeps you coming for more and wanting to know what's going to happen next. I was not expecting for a series on Peacock for it to go nearly as hard as it does. I mean, it gets dark and pretty brutal and shows some things and does stuff that I just did not expect. Because to be honest, I haven't been a fan of network TV in a long time, because it just always feels so watered down and it doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't feel gritty. It doesn't disturb me. It doesn't really pull me in. It just feels so phony and glossy and pretty, and it just doesn't work for me. And that's not to criticize anybody that does enjoy that kind of TV, but at least for me, it just doesn't work. And so when I watched this, I was expecting it to just be another series like that, like stuff that is okay, but it just doesn't quite go there. It doesn't quite have the teeth that it needs to really pull me in. To be honest, the last time I saw a series that felt this way, it was Hannibal, and that was a long time ago, and it really pushed the boundaries of what you could get away with on network TV, and I think this series is doing a lot of the same thing. Now, I'm not saying it's on the same level as Hannibal. Hannibal was one of my favorite series ever, but I do think this is really good, and especially if you're a fan of mysterious, creepy, horror thriller kind of series, this is one you should definitely check out.
Do with this together.
What the?
Sting.
Sting is a 2024 Australian creature feature horror movie, written and directed by Kia Roche Turner. It stars Ryan Corr, Aaliyah Brown, and Penelope Mitchell. The story follows a young girl who secretly raises a spider as a pet, which transforms into a giant monster.
Cool. We're gonna call you Sting.
We've had 2 spider movies this year, and they both are kind of different. Even though they're both spiders, Infested, I think, is probably the better movie, but it's more focused on the creepy, giving you the willies, spiders everywhere kind of thing. And that's great. But it's a much more serious kind of thing than this, because this is a more fun movie. There's humor to it. It's campy. It knows what it's trying to do here. And it reminds me in a lot of ways of those old school 1950s big giant creature feature horror movies. But there's a great heart here and story about a family with this stepfather who's trying to raise this little girl as his own and get her to let him in. And it's just really well done. And so beyond being a fun creature feature, it has that element to it as well. But the main reason to watch this is just to have fun with it. It is a quintessential popcorn kind of horror movie, so definitely add this one to your list. Kristy is a 2014 horror thriller directed by Ollie Blackburn. It stars Haley Bennett, Lucas Till, and Ashley Green. When a college girl who is alone on campus over the Thanksgiving break is targeted by a group of outcasts, she must conquer her deepest fears to outwit them and fight back.
Overnight, police in Oregon announced they found the 21-year-old's body on...
This is such an underrated little gem, and you never hear anyone mention it. and it's really a shame. But I wanted to talk about it here because we're heading into Thanksgiving. It's just a couple weeks out, and I think this is a great watch for this time of year. Because we just don't have that many horror movies that have to do with Thanksgiving or have Thanksgiving in them in any way, shape, or form. And this is one of the best of the few that we do have. It's a really great cat and mouse thriller that's intense and keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's also well acted, well directed, it looks fantastic, well produced, and absolutely a movie that's worth your time.
A dirty, nasty thing.
People want evil.
Grotesquerie is a 2024 drama horror series. Created by Ryan Murphy, it stars Niecy Nash, Michaela Diamond, and Travis Kelce. A detective and a nun investigate a series of heinous crimes while grappling with personal issues and uncovering a sinister web that raises more questions than answers.
You have to really hate people to do what was done here. It's inhuman.
Here's another series that really surprised me. Yes, this one's on FX, so I knew it would go a little harder than your normal network TV stuff would, but it's more of how this is delivered. It feels fresh and exciting because it's so strange and weird. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of if you were to take the series Priest and mix it with Dexter, because it has a lot of the grotesque, brutal kills and things that you saw in Dexter, a lot of these really horrific crimes. But then it also has this weird, strange feel about it that's even hard to put into words that Priest has. It's quirky, and a lot of the stuff, if I were to tell you what happened, you would say there's no way that works, but in a weird way, it does. I mean, there's so many strange scenes and things that happen that don't really seem like they would work, but when they're all put together, they just give it this creepy, uncomfortable vibe. But it's really well acted and directed. It's full of mystery and keeps you coming for more. I found myself just binging it all night long one night, and I love when I see a series like that. And as a Niner fan, I can't stand the Kansas City Chiefs. And as much as I wanted Travis Kelce to not work in this series, his role and everything to just be like something I despised, I can't help it. He was charming. He's really fun. He actually does a good job in this series because he's put in the perfect kind of role for what he has to do. But just in general, this series is badass. So if you're a fan of crime, horror, thriller series like I am, this is one you should absolutely add to your list.
Don't look so scared.
Wolf is a 1994 romantic horror movie. Directed by Mike Nichols, it stars Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and James Spader. Publisher Will Randall becomes a demon wolf and has to fight to keep his job.
I never thought I'd meet a good man who looked at me the way you do.
You don't know I'm a good man.
If you're a fan of werewolf movies like I am, this is one you should definitely have on your radar. It's one that kind of slips through the cracks and isn't talked about nearly enough. It's definitely a bit dated. Some of the special effects, some of the things that are done in it, show its age. But it's got an incredible cast who do a great job in this. But just the simple fact that you see Jack Nicholson turn into a werewolf makes this definitely worth seeing. But not only is it fun seeing Jack Nicholson, James Spader is amazing in this too, and so is Michelle Pfeiffer. But I think this movie is more fun than it is scary. It does have some creepy elements, a few moments here and there, but for the most part, it's just fun, especially to see this cast doing such a great job in this. I think this movie is a great time and one you should definitely give a look.
I can't wait to kill her.
All Eyes is a 2022 dark comedy horror movie. Written and directed by the Greenlee brothers, it stars Jasper Hammer, Ben Hall, and Danielle Yvonne Ploger. The story's about a disgraced podcaster who interviews an eccentric farmer that claims to have a monster living in the woods near his house.
Look, I don't like you, but my wife really did. Because of that, and only that, I think it's fitting that you be the one to tell my story.
This is a very surprising movie. It is a low budget indie movie, so you have to keep that in mind going in. But this movie is surprising because it takes these twists, and at one point it's kind of like two different movies because you're going along one way, there's a bit of humor to it, then all of a sudden it turns and changes up completely and becomes a very different, thrilling, exciting, intense movie. It also really surprised me how good the cast was in this, how believable and genuine they felt. And it isn't by any means an overtly funny movie. So when I say dark comedy, there's only a little comedy and it's more situational kind of comedy. Mostly this movie gets intense and thrilling, and it's just a fun ride because it does such a great job of winding back and forth and keeping you off kilter and never really quite knowing exactly where it's going to go next. But I think this is a fantastic little gem that I highly, highly recommend. Curse of the Demon is a 1957 British horror movie. Directed by Jacques Tourneur, it stars Dana Andrews, Peggy Cummings, and Niall McGuinness. An American professor arrives in London for a parapsychology conference, only to find himself investigating the mysterious actions of a devil worshipper.
He has been chosen.
I've been chosen for what? What do you mean?
This is one of those classic black and white horror movies that it just really flies under the radar, and it's a shame because this is such a fun, creepy, moody, atmospheric movie. It's one of those classics that just becomes even creepier somehow because it's in black and white. There's fun special effects, great performances from the cast. It goes in some really interesting different directions. It's well written, and it's just really a good time, especially when you're in the mood for that black and white kind of vibe. So if you've never seen this, I think it's definitely worth checking out.
I'm going to show the world what happened here.
If you find this tape, just please get it out.
The Bay is a 2012 mockumentary horror movie. Directed by Barry Levinson, it stars Keith Donahue, Nancy Aluka, and Christopher Denham. Chaos breaks out in a small Maryland town after an ecological disaster occurs.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I know they shut down all the roads going into Clarity. Now I'm flying over the water here and, well, there's just dead fish everywhere.
This is one of the very best mockumentary found footage kind of horror movies, but it's one that really doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. Because for the mockumentary style, the kind where you're seeing news clips and video footage of this and that, it's not just your normal found footage. This is one of the more effective. It gets creepy, it's uncomfortable. It has body horror and goes in some really weird, uncomfortable directions. And for such a small production, tiny budget kind of movie, this does a great job of being imaginative and creative and really working with what they have. And I think because of what happens in this feels like something that almost could happen, it gives it even more of that chilling, uncomfortable feeling. But if you're in the mood for a found footage, mockumentary style horror movie, and you've never seen this, this should be the next thing that you watch.
How do you like it, huh? Oh, God, what have I done?
Little Monsters is a 2019 comedy horror movie. Written and directed by Abe Forsyth, it stars Lupita Nyong'o, Alexander England, and Josh Gad. A washed-out musician teams up with a teacher and kids show personality to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies.
Don't be scared. Who remembers how to play tag? Well, those funny-looking people out there are...
This is such a fun, entertaining movie. Another one that I just don't hear anybody talk about, and it really surprises me, especially because it has Lupita Nyong'o. And ever since she won an Academy Award, she's been a big name. And it's crazy because she's almost too good for this role because it's kind of a silly, not anything to take serious kind of movie. But she gives it everything she's got and really elevates it to another level. But at its core, it's just a fun, campy, a little bit silly, a little gory, a little violent kind of zombie horror movie. One of the best things about it though is all these kid zombies, and you can just tell they're having a blast doing this. And the directions that it goes, some of the things that it does surprised me. I was not expecting it to do and go in some directions that it does. Like I said, it's not anything to take serious. It's just a good time. It's a fun ride. And if you're in the mood to just relax, not take anything super serious, I think this is a fantastic pick.
A tender story of love and romance. A gripping tale of lust and revenge.
Frankenhooker is a 1990 black comedy horror movie, co-written and directed by Frank Henenlotter. It stars Patty Mullen, James Lorenz, and Joseph Gonzalez. A medical student sets out to recreate his decapitated fiancée by building her a new body made of Manhattan street prostitutes.
Hold still. Excellent. Oh my God. Bunyan!
So you guys know how it works. I always try to end my list with something lighthearted, something to not take overly serious. And I think this is a fantastic pick this week because it had been a long time since I'd seen this. And it still holds up, man. This movie is crude, it's rude, it's silly, it's definitely dumb. It's very Frank Henenlotter. It's campy and cheesy, but it's so colorful, so fun, so quirky, so charming. And it's genuinely funny. There's some really funny parts in this movie, but it's just absolutely full of that 1980s horror charm. And I just think it is an absolutely perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you guys would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member by clicking on that join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 more horror movies that I highly recommend. And I'll see you guys next time.